Hey guys, this is the Southern Hellenic. So I did a video yesterday talking about that today. So I did a video yesterday and said tomorrow, which is today, that Netflix's new series, Blood of Zeus, was coming out. And Netflix, 98% of the time, they will release a show in one go, meaning that all the episodes that are part of that season are released. So I was like, okay, great. I'm going to watch one episode, come home, and of course do individual videos to kind of talk about my feelings about the show and everything, and I ended up binge watching the whole season. So it was insane. Okay. Alright, so for those people who have not watched Blood of Zeus, please do not watch this video unless you want major spoilers. So you have been warned. So there's a warning. Spoilers are in this video. So I actually started watching it when I got to work. And I got to work about 7:20. It's like 7:20 or 7:25. And I decided to go ahead and watch the first episode. Be like, okay, I'm going to watch the first episode of the show. Come back and just do a singular video, maybe a couple of minutes long, to kind of let you guys know how I felt about this show. So, Netflix is home to some of the most groundbreaking anime ever. Like Castlevania, which is based on the video game. I don't know if they did books, but it's based on the video game. So, I know that, now, there was some people's name that sounded Greek, but I don't know. And so, first of all, as I said before, there's going to be spoilers. But, so anyways, it starts off by basically telling you that this is a so-called lost piece of mythology. And it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't lay claim that it's actually based on written mythology, which is something I was very happy about. Because if you say it's based on an actual myth or an actual saga, there are people going to expect it to be accurate according to how it was written. Okay, so I watched the first episode. And first of all, I want to make it very clear. This show is not for children. It is mature. I mean, it has so much blood and gore in it. It's just like not even funny. Which makes me want to watch Castlevania after this. But it has a lot of blood and gore in it. And it's interesting how they presented the show and how it turned out in the end, which was exciting but also pretty sad. So, first of all, it's very quite clear that the belief that the ancient Greeks had was that the gods will not come down and do things for you. And that's what the old man that goes out and gets them their rabbits, basically he feeds them. This old man feeds this boy and his mother. So, knowing that he is the son of Zeus already, I mean from the trailer, you kind of have to guess that his mother has to at least have been a princess. and a very beautiful one, to get the eye of Zeus, because Zeus only had relations with people that were of royal blood, and the reasoning behind it was that the son or daughter would grow up to be this great hero, and of course be the child who ends up forming the great dynastic family. So I automatically already knew she had to have been royalty. And seeing how she was living, you can't imagine her in a palace with, the best clothing and, unlimited amount of food and all that type of stuff. You cannot imagine that this woman probably lived in that kind of environment. She's very, very rough around the edges, but she's also very kind and gentle and loving to her son. So as the story progresses, we encounter they're a race of demons, and basically they used to be human beings, but they ate the flesh of this giant, and the flesh of the giant contained some of the essence of the giant, and that's how they were formed. And they can look entirely human until they come out, which is beyond scary. I mean, so I'm watching the first episode of the show, and this is going to be a pretty long video. I'm watching the first episode of the show, and there's 8 episodes in the first season. And that's typical for Netflix, to bring out 8 episodes for the first season. I think they did it with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. So the polis, they call it polis. They don't, it's interesting when you watch the show, they use the word polis instead of the name of the town. They use the word polis. They don't use the name of the word town. They don't, so I don't think we do find out the name of the town that they live in. But ever since they arrived, there is this huge blanket of clouds. And we find out in, I believe, episode 2, that the clouds actually were used to cover the polis for one reason, and that was to protect the mother and her son. And we find out that Heron's mother used to be queen to a tyrant. I cannot pronounce the tyrant's name. And so what happens is Hera is depicted as the ultimate badass bitch. This is probably going to be declared inappropriate for all ages, but she's a badass bitch in this show. She is so consumed with jealousy over the number of women that Zeus has actually bedded that she actually decides that she is going to infect this woman's husband with these dreams that basically states that, it basically gets his jealousy up and his anger up. So when she gives birth to the heir to the throne, and the heir to the throne actually is her husband's son. He has brown eyes, so basically he forces the child's eyes open so he can see if the child has his eyes. When she gives birth to her second child, the child has blue eyes, meaning that he is not the king's son. So you have, in essence, 2 princes, and they are linked. we later on find out that they are linked by fate. So episode 2 really does explain a great deal about how Hera was actually conceived. And Zeus actually took the form of her husband. So Zeus was coming on her as this, this really sweet and loving man that, and he could tell that her husband was mega abusive and mega an asshole, and he wanted to show her what it was like to be with somebody who was gentle and who was willing to say I love you and hold her and everything like that. So for well over a decade, Heron and his mother, the former queen to this tyrant, ends up being hidden away from Hera, and there's a lot of things about it that really does go a great deal with Greek mythology and what we know about tyrants and their families. And we find out in the show that the heir to the throne was actually thrown off of a cliff because his uncle actually wanted to become king. And so you have a guy who basically tries to commit infanticide. He actually successfully gets this baby into the water. He somehow manages to survive being almost killed by his uncle. So his uncle has that stain on him. He has that pollution of miasma, I think that's how you pronounce it. He has committed the act of attempted infanticide. And the child actually grows up to be this child who is on the edge of society. He is a prince. He has royal blood. But he doesn't live like a prince. He lives like a savage. And so what we later on find out is that Zeus is the one who basically transformed into a bear to save this kid's life. He couldn't save the woman who had rescued the baby, but he tried his best, and we later on find out that down the road. There is this one word that is in the story that really reminds me a lot about the choices that ancient Greeks had to make in the 3rd and 4th century. Convert or die. And so there's a little bit of a Christian slant to it that really plays really well into how sadistic and how twisted this prince has become. He has become a monster. And because of his crimes, if he dies, he is not going to be with his mother. He ends up killing his mother, therefore committing the sin of parenticide. So you have this guy, he has no clue that the woman that he has just killed is his mother. But that doesn't mean anything to Hades. You committed parenticide. Therefore, you're going to get some of the worst punishment. Not just that, he when he finds out that Heron is his brother and the son of Zeus, there's a lot of stuff that he does. He makes all these really bad choices, and it all stems from how twisted and evil his family actually is. So the family is not the Hallmark greeting card type of family. This family did not become tyrants because they were nice people. They were tyrants because they were evil, and their throne, their people was these tyrants had these kingdoms and they subjugated their people and they treated them really badly. But it's also one of the things that really, really seals his fate is the death of Hades' brother and his sister. But thing about it is that it all ties in. It all comes together in some kind of form, where Zeus is the one who falls in love with Heron's mother. Heron is born. Zeus protects not only the mother but the child. He goes and he sends them off to this polis. He tries everything to protect the heir to the throne of this kingdom, and he somewhat manages to succeed in doing it, but he ends up with this kid who has nothing but pain and suffering. And this tyrant, this guy, has 50 sons. How the... Never mind. Ramses the Great had 100. But he has 50 sons. And so this prince is going around and basically tracking down all of his uncle's sons and butchering them in really, really bad ways. So one of the things that he cannot stand, especially because he knows that he's a prince, he cannot stand bowing in the presence of the gods. And the only god that actually doesn't demand him to bow is actually Zeus. And so Zeus actually gives him the location of his uncle, because his uncle has to pay for his own sins. He has to pay for his own hubris, his own crimes against the gods. And so, sure enough, the prince finds his uncle and just decimates him. So, one of the things that Hera does, and finally the gods realize that Hera has gone way beyond what's acceptable, is when she brings forth the giants that the gods fought against. And not just that, but they hear her wanting Zeus's death. And for a lot of the gods, like Apollo considered himself to be a bastard son. That's why he really connects with Heron. He sees that Heron is a good person. He has a good heart. He is beyond higher morals. He is everything that his sick, twisted family was never going to be. He has the makings of a king that could actually show his people that yes, it's time to be civilized. But Heron has to go through these little quests and these little adventures to not only to become the hero that will end up becoming a great king, if that happens later on, but it also shows that he is something special. And so when Hera unleashes the giants, and this is what really tips the scales, when Hera promises them Poseidon's realm. And Poseidon is very overly protective of his oceans. He likes being king of the ocean. And of course, Hades is neutral because death is neutral. Death never takes sides. And so there's this battle between the Olympians and minor gods, and Hera, and of course her twisted son Ares, and I don't know who else. And basically there is a clash of gods, and Zeus and Hera ends up Hera ends up causing the death of Zeus. But even though Zeus is on the verge of death, she still sees that he does still love her, despite all his affairs, everything. He still gives her an opportunity to back down, to allow the gods to recapture these giants. And her jealousy, and this woman is freaking dead, and she still cannot leave her memory in peace. So they end up basically canceling each other out. And it's all because of individual choices. It's all because of a sadistic family. It is all because of fate. It is all because of Hera's jealousy. It is all because Zeus fell in love with a woman that Hera couldn't stand. But the animation was just so great. And the other gods, they warm up to Hera. They really like this guy. He has a heart of gold. He has morals. He has ethics. He is the best of Zeus. And it's really interesting that he's able to tap into his father's power of thunder and lightning. And that ends up being the thing that finally kills off his own brother and everything. So it's interesting. We also discover something about the weapon that Heron's brother wielded. It actually belonged to Hades. And that's why it was so deadly. But it was an amazing first season. I just loved it. And I really hope that Heron's adventures are not over. It was just so amazing. It was sad that Zeus died, and I really you kind of felt a little sympathy to Hera towards the end, because she was remembering that moment that her and Zeus fell in love with each other. And it's kind of just the moment she just realized, I just fucked up. But it was such a great show. I mean, I just could not get enough of it. I had to binge watch the entire season. So I really hope that Blood of Zeus is not a one-time thing, because I really would like to see more of Heron's adventures, because I feel that he's probably on the road to becoming a king, but he has to go through all these adventures and encounter all these monsters. And there is so many monsters in this freaking show. It just blows your mind. And of course, someone said, Blood of Zeus is epic. It is fucking epic. It is so fucking epic. It is fucking unbelievable. It is beyond epic. It is so much better than Percy Jackson and the Olympians, because it's just awesome. But I was like, yes, thank you, Face, for letting me to watch Blood of Zeus. It was so good. So good. I loved it. I cannot get, I mean, you also, it's really cool about it is that Apollo is not depicted as this arrogant god. He is actually this really like nice, and he, him and Heron, they click, and they turn out to be, they look like they can actually be good friends as well as good brothers. And I really would like to see that in the next season, if that is something that happens. a really cool. You had like the image of Demeter. She was like making the stuff grow. They were repairing Mount Olympus, but it was just such a great show, so badass. Yes, there is gore, and there is blood and all that type of stuff, but it was such a great show, and I think they really did the gods service, because you really, it's, I was watching this spoiler free, though not kind of spoiler free, because we find out his mama dies, but it really it says, Greek mythology's been done on every single angle known to man, but this one is on a whole new level. This show is that fucking good. The animators did a great job of bringing the gods to life and showing off their abilities. One of the things I really felt bad, and this is another reason that like Hera and Hermes really clicked, and everything, was that Hermes is actually passing by Hera, and Hera opens her mouth and says, "Another one of Zeus's bastards." It's a reminder to Hermes that he may be an Olympian, but in the eyes of Hera, he is a bastard child of Zeus, and he will always be a bastard child of Zeus. And the thing is I just really felt bad for poor Hermes. Hermes is the messenger god, and he's treated so badly with Hera. Hera treats this poor kid really badly, calling him a bastard. And you really had to feel bad for him, and I really felt bad for how Heron's mother dies. Heron's mother, as I said before, dies at the hands of her own son, and doesn't even know. They don't even know that they're son and mother. But when Heron's brother dies, and he goes to the underworld, and he's in this mist. He doesn't know that he's dead. He's kind of in this mist. And then it opens up. Karen? Oh, man. Karen looked like a sludge monster. But when he sees Karen, and he suddenly is like transparent, he goes, this voice basically says, you used my trident really well. And he, of course, realizes that he is in the underworld. And he's going to so basically what ends up with Heron's brother, he ends up going into Tartarus. Because his crimes against the gods were great. If you really want to see what Hades does to people that first of all, blasphemed the gods, forced people to become these monsters and end up killing scores of people, probably including their own family members, which means they end up going to Tartarus as well. So he did a lot of crimes against the gods. He enabled Hades to lose his brother and his sister. He went and killed his own mother. He tried to kill his own brother. He killed his uncle. And he laid waste to polises. He orchestrated the massacre of hundreds of people. He killed his own cousins. He is so filled with the taint of pollution. It's not even funny. He basically sold his soul for power. If you really look at when he accepted the flesh of this giant, in essence, he sold his soul for power. He became as corrupt and as evil as his own father, his own uncle, and all of his cousins combined. And yes, he did have a hard life, but he had choices. And he allowed his desire for revenge to allow him to commit some of the worst atrocities that you could ever imagine someone committing. And of course, Hades could not let the death of his brother and his sister go unpunished. That was literally the cherry on the top. So he actually ends up going to Tartarus. But yes, it was beyond an excellent show, and I really do hope they have a season 2. So we get more of Heron's adventures. I'm definitely going to rewatch it like a dozen times because the action sequences were beyond amazing. And I really enjoyed it. So that is my take on The Blood of Zeus. I hope all of you enjoyed the video. Sorry about the spoiler. I think I basically spoiled the entire dang freaking show, but I don't freaking care. It is awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to let you guys go. So until next time, may be happy, healthy, most importantly be safe. And next up, after I change out my uniform, you will get that Hellenic video. So I'll see you guys around.